In 1853, a steamboat captain stood on 15,000 acres of wild Texas grassland and made a bet that would feed America for the next 170 years. What Richard King built wasn't just a ranch, it was the agricultural empire that turned Texas into the beef capital of the world. But the story of how King Ranch actually fed America goes far deeper than cattle. From secret government partnerships to feeding troops in 2 world wars, this ranch didn't just grow food, it shaped the very way America eats. And what they accomplished will change everything you thought you knew about American agriculture. The vision that started it all. Picture this, 1853, South Texas. Most folks thought this land was worthless, nothing but thorny brush, rattlesnakes, and heat that could kill a man. But Richard King saw something different. He saw endless grasslands that could support cattle herds bigger than anything America had ever known. King wasn't born into wealth. He was a steamboat captain who understood hard work and strategic thinking. While other men were chasing gold in California, King was investing in something more valuable, land that could produce food forever. That first purchase of 15,500 acres for $300 was just the beginning. King had a vision that most people thought was crazy. Turn this harsh, unforgiving landscape into the most productive ranch in America. He understood something that every successful gardener knows. The right land, properly managed, can produce abundance for generations. But here's what made King different from every other rancher of his time. He didn't just want to raise cattle. He wanted to create a complete agricultural ecosystem that could feed America's growing population, and he was willing to bet everything on that vision. The land grab that built an empire. What happened next reads like something out of the Old West, but it's all true. King began systematically acquiring entire Spanish land grants, some dating back to the 1700s. He wasn't buying parcels here and there. He was purchasing entire counties' worth of land. One of his most famous acquisitions was the Santa Gertrudis Creek area, which he bought for just 2 cents an acre. Think about that for a moment. Land that's now worth millions per acre was once purchased for less than the cost of a penny candy. King had the foresight to see what this land could become, much like a master gardener who looks at a patch of weeds and envisions a thriving vegetable garden. By the time King died in 1885, the ranch covered 1.2 million acres, but that was just the foundation. His widow, Henrietta King, continued expanding the operation, eventually growing it to the 825,000 acres we know today. That's larger than the state of Rhode Island and bigger than many countries around the world. The scale is almost impossible to comprehend for those of us who work smaller plots of land. Imagine driving for hours in any direction and never leaving the same property. That's the reality at King Ranch, where cowboys can ride for days without crossing a fence line that isn't theirs. The cattle revolution that changed America. But King Ranch didn't just accumulate land. They revolutionized how America raised beef. In the 1880s, most cattle were scrubby longhorns that could survive the harsh Texas climate but produced tough, stringy meat that nobody really wanted to eat. King Ranch changed all that by developing their own breed of cattle, the Santa Gertrudis. This wasn't just luck or trial and error, it was methodical, scientific breeding that took decades to perfect. They crossed British Shorthorn cattle with Indian Brahman cattle, creating animals perfectly adapted to the South Texas climate while producing superior beef. The Santa Gertrudis became the first American breed of beef cattle to be recognized internationally. These cattle could thrive in temperatures that would kill other breeds, resist diseases that plagued other cattle, and produce beef that commanded premium prices in markets around the globe. It's like developing a tomato variety that can grow in any climate, resist all pests, and taste better than anything else on the market. Except King Ranch actually did it with cattle. And that innovation didn't just change their ranch, it changed American agriculture forever. Feeding America through 2 world wars. Here's where the story gets really incredible. When World War I broke out, America needed to feed not just its own troops, but Allied forces across Europe. King Ranch stepped up in a way that most people never knew about. The ranch provided millions of pounds of beef to the U.S. military, helping sustain American forces during the Great War, but they didn't stop there. They also provided horses, thousands of them, for military use. Remember, this was before mechanized warfare, and horses were still crucial for moving supplies and equipment. During World War II, King Ranch's contribution was even more significant. They provided beef for both military and civilian populations when rationing made meat scarce for American families. The ranch's efficient production methods meant they could supply high-quality protein when the nation needed it most. But here's something that'll give you chills. King Ranch also served as a training ground for military personnel. The vast, challenging terrain of South Texas was perfect for preparing soldiers for combat in similar environments around the world. The ranch literally helped train the men who would win World War II. The innovation that fed a growing nation. As America's population exploded after World War II, King Ranch pioneered innovations that would help feed the growing nation. They were among the first to use artificial insemination in cattle breeding, allowing them to improve their herds faster than traditional methods. They developed rotational grazing systems that maximized grass production while maintaining soil health. This wasn't just good for the environment. It was good business. Healthy grasslands could support more cattle, which meant more beef for American dinner tables. The ranch also pioneered the use of aircraft in ranch management. While other ranchers were still managing herds on horseback, King Ranch cowboys were using airplanes to spot cattle, monitor range conditions, and coordinate roundups across vast distances. These innovations didn't stay at King Ranch. They spread throughout the American cattle industry, improving efficiency and production across the country. What started as solutions to manage one massive ranch became standard practices that helped America become the world's leading beef producer. The secret government partnership. Here's something that most Americans never knew. King Ranch has been quietly partnering with the U.S. government for decades in ways that go far beyond agriculture. During the Cold War, the ranch's vast, isolated land served as testing grounds for military equipment and training exercises. The ranch's airspace was used for experimental aircraft trials, and their remote locations provided perfect conditions for testing equipment that needed to be kept secret from foreign observers. It's like having your backyard serve as a research facility for national defense. Except your backyard is larger than most states. But the most incredible government partnership involves what's beneath the ground. King Ranch sits on top of massive salt domes that the U.S. government leases for strategic petroleum reserves. That's right. America stores emergency oil supplies in caverns carved out of King Ranch salt formations. They're essentially landlords to America's energy security, collecting rent from Uncle Sam for storing the nation's emergency fuel supply. It's like discovering that your garden shed is actually sitting on top of Fort Knox, except in this case, it's liquid gold that keeps America running during crises. Feeding America's appetite for quality? As American tastes became more sophisticated in the latter half of the 20th century, King Ranch was ready. They had spent decades perfecting their cattle breeding programs, and their Santa Gertrudis cattle were producing some of the finest beef in the world. But King Ranch didn't just produce great beef, they helped create the market for it. They were pioneers in direct marketing to consumers, bypassing traditional middlemen to deliver premium beef directly to American dinner tables. The ranch also played a crucial role in developing the American restaurant industry. As steakhouses became popular across the country, King Ranch beef became the gold standard that chefs demanded. Their cattle weren't just feeding families. They were defining what great American beef should taste like. This focus on quality over quantity helped establish America's reputation for producing the world's best beef. While other countries might produce more cattle, American beef, led by operations like King Ranch, became synonymous with quality and flavor. The technology revolution on the range. As America entered the computer age, King Ranch was already ahead of the curve. They were among the first ranches to use satellite imagery to monitor pasture conditions across their vast holdings. GPS tracking allowed them to manage their herds with precision that would amaze the old-time cowboys. But they didn't abandon tradition. They enhanced it with technology. Cowboys still work cattle on horseback, but now those cowboys carried tablets loaded with herd management software. They used drones to scout terrain that would take hours to cover on horseback, proving that you can honor tradition while embracing innovation. The ranch maintains detailed genetic records on every animal, using DNA analysis to make breeding decisions that improve the herd's health, productivity, and meat quality. It's like having a master gardener's approach to seed selection, except applied to livestock breeding with scientific precision. This technological approach has allowed King Ranch to maintain their position as leaders in American beef production while adapting to changing consumer demands and environmental challenges. The conservation success story? Here's something that might surprise you. King Ranch has become one of America's greatest conservation success stories, and it happened almost by accident. Their rotational grazing system, designed to maximize cattle production, created perfect habitat for wildlife. The ranch now supports over 350 species of birds, including several endangered species that exist nowhere else in such numbers. Their land management practices have restored native grasslands that had been degraded by previous owners, proving that good ranching and environmental stewardship can go hand in hand. The wildlife program has become so successful that King Ranch now receives federal conservation payments for maintaining habitat. They're essentially getting paid by the government to do what they were already doing to manage their cattle pastures. A perfect example of how good agriculture benefits everyone. The ranch has also become a model for how large agricultural operations can support biodiversity while remaining profitable. Their success has influenced conservation programs across America, showing that private landowners can be powerful allies in protecting our natural heritage. The economic engine that powers rural America. King Ranch isn't just about producing food, it's an economic powerhouse that supports thousands of jobs and generates hundreds of millions of dollars in economic activity annually. The ranch employs hundreds of people directly, from cowboys and ranch hands to veterinarians and equipment operators. But the economic impact extends far beyond the ranch gates. Local suppliers, contractors, and service providers depend on King Ranch for business. Feed stores, equipment dealers, veterinary clinics, and dozens of other businesses thrive because of the ranch's operations. The ranch's annual operating budget runs into the tens of millions, with significant portions going to local businesses for everything from fuel and supplies to equipment maintenance and construction projects. It's a perfect example of how successful agricultural operations serve as anchors for rural communities. Studies show that every job at King Ranch supports several additional jobs in the surrounding communities. The ranch has become a stabilizing force in rural Texas, providing steady employment and economic opportunity in areas that might otherwise struggle. The water wars and underground oceans. Here's a story that most Americans never heard. King Ranch sits on top of one of the largest freshwater aquifers in North America. We're talking about billions of gallons of pure water that's becoming more valuable than oil in our drought-stricken world. During the Great Texas Droughts of the 1950s and again in the 2010s, when neighboring ranches were selling cattle and going out of business, King Ranch kept operating. Their underground ocean allowed them to maintain their herds and even expand operations while competitors struggled. But here's what makes this really incredible. King Ranch has been quietly managing this water resource for over a century, long before anyone understood how precious groundwater would become. They installed some of the first deep water wells in Texas using windmills and later electric pumps to bring this liquid gold to the surface. The ranch now operates over 300 water wells across their property, each one carefully monitored to ensure sustainable use. They've become masters of water conservation using drip irrigation systems and stock tank management that would make any gardener proud. Their water management practices are now studied by agricultural colleges and copied by ranchers across the arid West. During the recent California droughts, King Ranch actually supplied water to other agricultural operations, essentially becoming a water utility company. In addition to their ranching operations, they're proving that good stewardship of natural resources isn't just environmentally responsible, it's incredibly profitable. The quarter horse dynasty that built champions. While everyone knows about King Ranch cattle, fewer people realize they also created one of America's greatest quarter horse dynasties. Starting in the 1940s, the ranch began breeding quarter horses with the same scientific precision they applied to cattle breeding. The results were spectacular. King Ranch quarter horses dominated rodeos, cutting competitions, and racing tracks across America. Their stallions commanded stud fees that rivaled those of thoroughbred racehorses, and their offspring sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars at auctions. But these weren't just pretty horses bred for show. These were working animals, bred for intelligence, athleticism, and the ability to work cattle in the harsh South Texas brush country. A King Ranch quarter horse could cut a single steer out of a herd of thousands, work all day in 100-degree heat, and still have energy left for the ride home. The ranch's horse breeding program became so successful that they started selling horses to other ranches, movie studios, and even foreign governments. King Ranch quarter horses appeared in Hollywood westerns, worked cattle on ranches from Montana to Argentina, and became ambassadors for American horsemanship around the world. Today, King Ranch bloodlines can be found in champion horses across America. Their genetic legacy lives on in cutting horses, reigning champions, and working ranch horses that carry on the tradition of excellence that started in the South Texas brush country over 80 years ago. The hunting empire that funds conservation. Here's something that'll surprise you. King Ranch makes more money per acre from hunting than many farmers make from their entire crop harvests. The ranch has accidentally created one of the most successful wildlife management programs in American history, and it's all because of how they manage their cattle operations. Their rotational grazing system created perfect habitat for white-tailed deer, wild turkeys, quail, and dove. The ranch now supports the largest population of wild turkeys in North America. We're talking about birds that generate more revenue per pound than prime beef cattle. But here's the genius part. These animals require virtually no input costs. They just roam free, multiply naturally, and provide premium hunting experiences that attract sportsmen from around the world. Hunters pay thousands of dollars for the chance to hunt trophy deer and turkeys on King Ranch, creating a revenue stream that helps fund all their conservation efforts. The hunting program has become so successful that King Ranch now manages wildlife on other properties across Texas and beyond. They've essentially created a new industry, scientific wildlife management that benefits both hunters and conservationists. The ranch maintains detailed records on every animal harvested, using this data to improve habitat and ensure sustainable populations. It's the same scientific approach they apply to cattle breeding, except now they're managing wild animals with the precision of a laboratory experiment. The legacy that continues to feed America. Today, King Ranch continues to play a crucial role in feeding America. Their cattle operations produce millions of pounds of high-quality beef annually, while their agricultural divisions grow crops that feed both livestock and people across the country. The ranch has also become a leader in sustainable agriculture, demonstrating that large-scale food production can be both profitable and environmentally responsible. Their practices are studied by agricultural researchers around the world and copied by ranchers across America. But perhaps most importantly, King Ranch represents the enduring values that built American agriculture: hard work, innovation, and a commitment to feeding the nation. From a steamboat captain's vision in 1853 to today's high-tech operation, the ranch has never lost sight of its core mission: producing food for America. The ranch continues to innovate, recently investing in renewable energy projects and precision agriculture technologies that will help them remain competitive while reducing their environmental impact. They're proving that American agriculture can adapt to changing times while maintaining the values that made it great. The modern miracle of American agriculture. What King Ranch accomplished over 170 years represents everything that's great about American agriculture. They took raw land that most people considered worthless and turned it into one of the most productive agricultural operations in the world. They fed American troops through 2 world wars, helped establish America as the world's leading beef producer, and created thousands of jobs in rural communities. They pioneered innovations that spread throughout American agriculture, making the entire industry more efficient and productive. But most importantly, they proved that American agricultural values, hard work, innovation, and long-term thinking can create lasting success. The ranch has survived droughts, economic downturns, and changing markets by staying true to those values while adapting to new challenges. And today, as America faces new challenges in feeding a growing population while protecting the environment, King Ranch continues to lead by example. They're showing that sustainable agriculture isn't just possible, it's profitable. The ranch that built America's food system. King Ranch didn't just feed America, they helped build the entire system that feeds us today. Their innovations in cattle breeding, range management, and agricultural technology became standard practices throughout American agriculture. Their commitment to quality helped establish America's reputation for producing the world's best beef. Their business practices showed other ranchers how to build sustainable, profitable operations that could weather any storm. Most importantly, they proved that American agriculture could compete with anyone in the world while maintaining the values that make us proud to be Americans: hard work, innovation, and a commitment to excellence. These are the values that King Ranch represents, and they're the values that continue to make American agriculture the envy of the world. From that first 15,500 acres purchased by a steamboat captain with a vision to today's 800 to 25,000 acre empire, King Ranch has been feeding America for 170 years. And if their track record is any indication, they'll be feeding America for generations to come. The story of King Ranch is really the story of American agriculture itself, a story of vision, hard work, and the belief that with enough determination, anything is possible. It's a story that every American can be proud of, and it's a story that continues to unfold every day on the grasslands of South Texas. King Ranch proves that American agricultural vision can accomplish the impossible. From a steamboat captain's dream in 1853 to feeding troops in 2 world wars, pioneering cattle breeding, and creating sustainable ranching practices that are copied worldwide, this ranch didn't just grow beef, it grew America itself. Through innovation, hard work, and an unwavering commitment to feeding the nation, King Ranch became the agricultural empire that helped make America the food powerhouse it is today. Their story reminds us that the greatest American success stories often start with someone willing to bet everything on a vision that others think is impossible. Make sure to subscribe for more incredible stories about the agricultural empires that built America. And check out the next video on your screen about another legendary ranch that will absolutely amaze you.